I guess the biggest thing I would say is don't ask for something if you're not giving something. And so that's why starting as a journalist, and publicist, but starting as doing journalism is really good because you're giving someone something without asking. And so when you do send them your resume for a potential assistant job or whatever it is, or to ask you to connect with someone else, then they'll be more apt to listen to you as opposed to people who just send blind. Like I can tell when I get a blind pitch that somebody sent to 100 people.
Hey guys, welcome back to Rave Culture Cast, your weekly guide to the EDM community, music festivals, and more. I'm your host, Emma Capotis. Happy Wednesday, fam. Today, I am super excited to be bringing on a guest who is somebody who I've looked up to and I think is an absolute freaking badass in this industry. If you guys have ever been interested in music PR, in the industry and journalism, prepare to hear from one of the best who does it. So Jaime Sloane is joining us today. First off, she's the global communications director for Ultra worldwide. So she represents all of the Ultra music festivals. She also has her own creative agency called J Sloane Creative, and she represents different artists, music festivals like Gem Jam and Hulaween, Framework, acts like Destructo and Maddie O'Neill. We're going to talk a little bit about some stuff that they have coming up this fall. So I'm just really excited to shine a light on her role, talk a lot about music publicity, what that looks like, representing artists, labels, major music festivals, and then talk about her role at Ultra. So yeah, this episode is full of tips and advice for anybody who wants to get into this industry. It was really cool picking her brain, so I hope that you guys enjoy it. But before we dive into things further, I wanted to shout out one of our sponsors, Lunchbox. So guys, Lunchbox has launched so many cool products in the last few years. Honestly, I could just pick and choose my favorites, but more recently, two of my favorites was the mini backpack. So if you guys haven't seen the mini backpack, it is absolutely fabulous. It has been my go-to bag even on the day-to-day, just going out and about versus bringing it to festivals and events. It works for any setting, but it's still anti-theft. It features your zipper clips on all your pockets, internal facing zippers. It's got different organizational pockets inside, which is nice to keep things nice and secure. It has a zipper pocket, and it's nice and compact. So if that's something you guys want, you don't need the water bladder or anything like that, it's a great option. They also just introduced the Lunchbox Light Pack, which is a taller pack. It has one tall compartment. It's not split in half like the original hydration pack is. It has a water bottle holder inside. Also does not have a water bladder component, but this is great for the everyday use as well. All the anti-theft features as well. So if you guys want to shop those packs, you can use code EMMAK to save money off of those to make it a little bit more affordable for you. But honestly, I'm absolutely obsessed with all of them. Their quality is incredible. So definitely go feel free to check out Lunchbox's website. I will leave it linked down below, and feel free to shop the packs with my code. All right, guys, with all that being said, I want to welcome Jaime Sloane to the podcast. Sit back, enjoy this interview, guys. Go follow her and show her some love and support. I will link all of their information down below. And with that being said, welcome Jaime to the podcast. Hey guys, welcome back to Rave Culture Cast, your weekly guide to the EDM community, music festivals, and more. Today, I am joined by a very special guest who I've wanted to have on the podcast for a long time. Jaime Sloane is a PR maven, absolute powerhouse music publicist with over 10 plus years of experience working in the industry and public relations, promotional campaigns, journalism, and creative media. She's a global communications director for Ultra worldwide, and her brand, J Sloane Creative, represents brands like Hulaween, Gem Jam, Framework, acts like Destructo, Maddie O'Neill, and many more we're going to dive into today. She has personally, for me, been a shining example of what it is to be an absolute fucking boss in this industry and a super talented business owner and relationship builder, amongst many other things. So I'm going to pick her brain today. You guys are going to learn a ton. So Jaime Sloane, welcome to Rave Culture Cast.
Thank you. Thank you for that lovely intro. I've got a little chills. You're such a doll.
I'll hype you up. Hype you up for this, man. We're flipping the script. Jaime is I can't wait to dive into this, but you are behind the scenes. You are making shit happen. But we're gonna flip things on you today, and I know you are usually the person helping out with what people are gonna say, but today we get to dive into your story and your career and how you've gotten to this place. But yeah, I guess just to start, could you tell us a little bit about yourself? Where are you from? Where'd you go to school? Where are you in the world right now joining this conversation?
Yeah, I was born in New York. I grew up in a suburb of Fort Lauderdale. I went to college at University of Florida for journalism. It's a great journalism school. Actually, a lot of like music industry journalists went there. Cat Bine, shout out. And
Yeah.
then I moved to LA. Then I moved to Miami. Now I'm right now I'm in Denver. I have a place in Miami and a place in Denver that I've been switching on and off of. I think I'm gonna maybe just stay in Miami next time I go down there for Art Basel for a
Okay.
while. But I just kind of go where the clients are, where the business is,
Yeah.
and where the wind blows me, I guess.
The nomad lifestyle for sure. Yeah. But you love that. I mean, was traveling like something on top of music? Obviously, we'll get into music, but like, was traveling always like a goal of yours as well?
Yeah, my mom and dad both worked in entertainment, TV, and radio, but my mom on the side also was a freelance travel journalist, which we would get to, go on ski trips for free and all this stuff. We got to like travel a lot of the country. And she had been to like 40 states in her life. So that
Mm.
was always a big part of my, identity, seeing different places and different cultures. So it's really nice that like my two passions, travel and music, now I get paid to do them.
Yeah, I know. Seriously, it's a dream job, but no, I think it's incredible though. You forget like how blessed you can be, like if your parents expose you to that early. Because I feel the same. Like I'm lucky that my parents like kind of took us to a lot of different places when we were young. Because I feel like I have that bug now. Like I absolutely love to travel and want to go to so many places. But I know it's like picking a favorite child. But do you have like favorite cities? Like if you could pick your top three
Oh
to
yeah, I
visit.
definitely have favorite cities. Um, Cape Town is definitely one of them. We do Ultra South
Mm,
Africa. We do one day in Cape Town, one day in Joburg. So I've been to Cape Town twice, and it is just absolutely stunning. The people are amazing. The wine is beautiful. You're on the beach, then you're in the mountain. I love
mm,
that. I love um, Medellin in Colombia. I love Mexico City is definitely one of my favorite places, just like culturally, cuisine. Usually I go, my favorite part of traveling is to eat. So I also love
mm.
Tokyo. I've done Ultra Japan like 4 times this year. I'm sending my other staffers so they can go enjoy.
Oh, nice.
Usually I get ready to go to Ultra Japan so I can eat everything in
Love
sight.
it. I'm glad you said all places I've never been to before, so I'm glad because then I'm
You
gonna
guys
add
gotta
those to the list
come. Bring
now.
the
I
baby.
know, right? Listen, he will be doing his fair share of traveling at some point, but
Love
for
it.
now, we're just doing the family vacations. But okay, so
He'll always
you
be
mentioned going
there.
to school. Oh yeah, for sure. I've well, that's a whole other thing we'll have to get into is the all ages music festivals. But
Ooh,
okay.
and we
So going back
represent
to
about
kind of like the beginning. Oh, no, is wait, what ones are all ages that you do? I don't
Cascade,
think. Okay.
Joshua Tree Music Festival are the two that are coming up this year. I can't speak on ones that I
Cool.
believe will renew next year, but Cascade Equinox,
Mm-hmm.
which is in Oregon, and then Joshua Tree, and we can go to that later. But yeah,
Sweet.
happy to
Okay.
talk on that because
Jamie's
it's a
got
really
all the tea.
special, curated thing that, parents get to go and have fun, and their kids can also have fun. It's very unique.
That's so fucking cool. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I guess kind of going back to the beginning a little bit, just to talk about you mentioned like going to a school that's really great for journalists. Like, was that the first passion for you? Was that your first foot in the door to this industry? And like, what were some of those first like roles that you had in journalism?
Yeah, I actually back, both of my parents, like I mentioned, worked in TV and radio, so I kind of grew up backstage. Like my mom was running one of the biggest country music festivals in the Southeast, and so I was doing artist relations. I mean, there was definitely like an adult standing with me, but I remember like
Mm-hmm.
Taylor Swift came up. She was the opener. She was like 11 a.m. and I was like giving her her credentials, and there was a little bit of a whatever scuffle, and I was
Yeah.
just like no, blah, 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 9-year-old bratty trying to run the scene. But after that, I was in high school. I was a music journalist for my high school newspaper. I was like sneaking into clubs that were 18 plus to like review bands and
Mm-hmm.
performances. And then in college, I wrote for my college newspaper in the school itself, as well as the independent one in Gainesville. And then I also that's where I really started my music journalism career fully.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you remember the golden days of the blogs, but
Mm-hmm.
it was kind of the Wild West back then. So I was writing for a blog now defunct Junebug. I think I wrote for something called DJ Z, and we were getting big interviews with big artists, and I don't really know like what the readership honestly was like, but I
Right.
was talking to like Sydney Sampson. I think I interviewed Tiesto, Ferry Corsten. I was not 21. And that
Right.
was just, such a dream getting to talk to these really amazing artists before they went on stage. And then simultaneously in college, I was also helping to throw events in Gainesville, which became kind of like a hub of the EDM explosion from like 2011
Mhm.
to 2014. So I was there a really good time. Like Skrillex's manager was living there at the time. We were having Stevie Aoki, Martin Garrix on a Tuesday. So I was slinging tickets in the dorms and doing social media and originally just anything I could do to be a part of it. And
Mhm.
then that just kind of became my main jam, like socially and professionally in college. And then because I was, writing and reviewing festivals, I went to first Tomorrow World. I met a lot of people in the industry. And so when I
Mhm.
graduated college, a woman that I'd already worked with in the past called Cecilia was working at DIMAC, and she had posted on her Facebook that DIMAC Records, Steve Aoki's record label, was
Mhm.
hiring for a new position, a PR marketing coordinator. So basically, half the time helping her, Cecilia was the director of PR as well as helping the marketing department. And so I just reached out to her. I was like, "Hey, I graduated last week, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd be anything close to qualified." She was like, "Actually, you'd be perfect. I'm going to push your resume through." So I had interviews. I was on my college graduation trip. I was in Morocco in a riad with very bad Wi-Fi, like
Wow.
on an interview with the president of DIMAC. And he's like, "Why can't I see you on the screen?" I was like, "I'm in Africa." But he offered me the job. I had two more interviews, then I was offered the job. And then I was supposed to go to Ultra Europe, actually, ironically, with my boyfriend at the time and his friends. They're like, "Well, if you want this job, you need to start like basically in 7 days." And I
Mhm.
still had my stuff in Gainesville and in Miami. Like I didn't plan to start my career so quickly, my full-time career, but
Right.
I got on the next flight. I got back to Florida, got my stuff, drove across the country with my dad, and started work the next day, like living in an Airbnb. My mom came out, found me, helped to find an apartment, and
Wow.
that was 10
That's
years ago. Oh
great.
gosh. Wow, yeah, this was my 10th anniversary this summer working. I started did back
Wow.
in July 2014. So
Holy shit.
I'm old.
Congrats.
No,
That's
I'm just
huge. No, no, no. That's like full circle moment though. That's so cool. What divine timing though. Like you just had
yeah,
graduated. Like what a role to get right out of it too. Because like Jim Mack at that time, like top of their game as well, which is
yeah.
incredible. That's so
Yeah, it
cool.
was
I
right
mean,
after they had done Selfie, like the year after. And also,
mm-hmm,
Steve Aoki found Block Party, started the coolest parties in LA. So
for sure.
it was really cool. Shout out Lauren Padman, he's now the president, and he was very instrumental in my career. But I always say, any industry hopefuls hopefully are watching.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in college, I think the best way to meet industry people and make those connections is to write or do something with some sort of a media outlet. Now, obviously, social media, there's other forms of media. You don't have to be like a great
Mm-hmm.
writer. But if you're covering shows, interviewing artists, promoting their project, that's a great way to connect with someone and show them that you are, contributing and getting your name, recognition, and also an
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to show people that you're responsible, a good communicator. Like that's how I was good at what I did, but I also had that contact. So it is about
Right.
who you know. And so I think that doing this stuff while it's unpaid volunteering, if you're in school and you have the means to do it, that's a really great
Mm-hmm.
way to get your foot in the door and make inroads.
That was great. That's such good advice. I mean, I don't know how you feel about this. I think like it depends on who you meet, but I've personally felt like as I've grown connections in this scene and like this podcast has helped tremendously, people have always been like so willing to connect you, or at least like people who are in a good place with themselves or who are aligned with you, like are so quick to help and like help make those
Mhm.
connections. So I could not agree with that point more about like just meeting people along the way and treating them right. And like that's how I always feel. If anybody ever reaches out to me, I'm like, I would love to help pass this name along to you or something like that. But it is a huge part of what we
100%.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And you build so many I can't even imagine like how many people you've met over the years. But what
I
was
love
like the
most of them. I wish I had more time to stay in touch with people, but
for sure.
life.
You just see them in passing for like a couple minutes at a show. It's hard. Yeah.
Bye.
But I mean, during that time at that role at Dim Mac, like what were some of like the most valuable lessons, or was there anything that you learned that you maybe didn't want to do and it pushed you in like a different direction?
Yeah, I still really love both PR and PR marketing, but I realized that I like, there's many different forms of marketing. I really respect the analytical and data driven marketing because it's really the backbone of what the creative marketing does
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, but it's not my strong suit and it's not like I'm not great at synthesizing that. So I really like the more creative storytelling part of marketing that works kind of in tandem with PR and, coming up with cool assets and that type of, cross promo. And I mean, I'm glad I worked there. I was there for a year. I mean, it was a great experience overall, but it was my only record label experience. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sure it's very different now with the way that the industry and DSPs have changed, but that's definitely been my foundation for understanding how record labels work, how songs and albums and promo gets rolled out, how strategies
Mm-hmm.
set Q1 through Q4, the different staggering of releases. And also, now, especially with electronic music, I think the really successful record labels, they're putting out big songs and big releases, but they also have showcases at festivals or they're throwing their own events. Like
Mm-hmm.
Wakan is a great example, I think. And so that's something that DimMac was doing a lot of as well. We were routing
Mm-hmm.
tours for our artists. And so it was a really good holistic understanding of all the different aspects of what you can do to promote an artist holistically, as well as,
Mm-hmm.
they had amazing merch. And obviously Steve Aoki is such a powerhouse. Like he had his own shows and amazing branding. So it was really good first crazy
Good
dip into
lessons.
the
Yeah.
full-time music world.
That's so cool. No, but it is a good because like now, obviously, I'm very excited to dive into what you do now. But like you're representing so many different types of artists, and then music festivals and events and things like that. So when did the idea come to you that you would want to start your own like J Sloane Creative and do your own thing?
So, it didn't really. I my whole career, I always I'm a pretty boisterous person, so I always end up really kind of taking lead, even if it's not what the role was supposed to be. Because of
Mm-hmm.
that, I've always been told by like industry peers, you should really start your own company. You end up doing most of the work anyway. And I had
Mm-hmm.
zero ambition to be a business owner. Both my parents are small business owners in the media world, and so. But I hate numbers, and it's just not my jam. And so I started J Sloane Creative because I'd been working full time at Ultra, and I'll get more into that later if you want. But I've been working full time at Ultra Music Festival in Miami, and then when COVID happened, Ultra Miami in March in 2020 was the first festival that didn't happen in America due to COVID, and so I was kept on staff, but instead of a full time position. I mean, it can't be a full time publicist or a festival that doesn't happen. I was doing hourly. I was reduced to hourly, and so that was when I was like, well, I've worked at, I worked after DimMac. I worked at Reflector, another amazing boutique music PR company for I think like 4 years, and so and that was a small company as well. So I kind of knew how to run that in a sense. I mean, I wasn't in charge of the company, but it took that knowledge and just started reaching out to people, my different contacts and other people I knew in the industry, and seeing if people wanted to hire me for PR and promo. So J Sloane
Yeah.
Creative just happened, kind of because of COVID.
I was gonna say it's another one of these stories that was born out of that time, which it's so interesting. I feel like I mean, I don't know. A lot of us have kind of like gone pivoted and gone down different roads, but if that time didn't happen, like maybe it would have happened, but in a different way. But okay,
Who
yeah.
knows?
So
Probably not, honestly, because it just wasn't like on my to do list. But it was
sure,
a beautiful blessing.
that came out of it for sure. Yeah. No, so then for sure, let's rewind here and go back to Ultra for a second because that's a huge part of what you do. And now how long have you been there? How many years have you been with Ultra?
So, and also prior to working for Ultra, I
Hmm.
grew up in South Florida. And so Ultra 2011 was the first festival I went to on my own accord, like as an adult, like bought a ticket
Awesome.
for. So
Okay.
I'm like Ultra ride or die for life. And so Ultra 2019 was a bit of a logistical tough one for them. They
Mm-hmm.
couldn't hold it at their traditional home of in downtown
Sure.
Miami. They held it on an island, and there was some issues logistically.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but that started a conversation within the company that they'd been using a PR agency at the time, similar to J Sloane Creative. They were bigger, but
Mm-hmm.
they decided that it would make more sense to create an in-house position, a global communications position, instead of having
Got
an
it.
external PR agency. And so I had gone to college with the marketing manager at the time, and so he called me in May of 2019, like on Facebook. He did like a Facebook call. We weren't buddies really; we were peers. And he was like, "Jaime Sloane, are
Yeah.
you happy with your life?" And I was like, "What?" And so he's like, "Do you want to come potentially help, restore the good kind of sentiment around
Mm-hmm.
Ultra?" And we're just gonna get the consumers, remind them of all the amazing years of Ultra.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the coolest, opportunity I could think of as somebody who
Sure.
rides so hard for Ultra. So I'd been working in LA, living in LA, working in a music marketing agency. And so, but I packed up my stuff and moved to Miami in summer of 2019. And my second day of work,
Wow.
they were like, "Go get your passport. You're going to go work Ultra Europe in Croatia." So I went and got the passport and
You're
backed
like,
up.
yep.
And yeah, it was a full throttle from the beginning. And then so that was summer, that was July 2019. And then I got to work Ultra Japan in September 2019. And then we were prepping for Ultra Miami. And I just said that part about COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So I started, and then I kind of stopped. I mean, I was doing some Spotify playlisting and some other like comms part time. And then in fall
Mm-hmm.
of 2021, when Ultra was ready to ramp back up, they gave me a shout to ask me to come back to the full time position that I had previously. But I had already been under contract with other clients through J Sloane Creative.
Mm-hmm.
So we worked out a situation where I would basically come back in the role I was in before, acting internally, but
Mm-hmm.
also J Sloane Creative would serve as an external PR agency, but I still have my
Sure.
Jamie at Ultra Music Festival email. So inadvertently, I
Got
ended
it.
up having a few full-time jobs, but thank God for my amazing
Mm-hmm.
staff and team.
Yep.
And so it's kind of like I'm in-house, but I also have my other clients and projects.
Business.
But Ultra is definitely my priority client, and that's
Okay.
very clear. We don't sign other big things in the
Mm-hmm.
lead up to March, and that's definitely we work our year around our
Sure.
partnership with Ultra because it's not just the Miami Festival. We spearhead PR for the Miami Festival, and then we also oversee and give directives for all of the worldwide properties. I don't know
Wow.
if you
Okay,
go
no,
into
that was a great like explanation of it
it.
because I had always wondered too because obviously like I know so many people in this industry in general just wear so many different hats and I was like trying to piece together the pieces of one how you do it all and then two like what your focuses were. So no, that was like a great picture of like everything you're focusing on. And I'm curious when you started like when you got that job, first of all, congratulations, crazy to get that phone call. It's a huge worldwide brand that everybody like
Yeah.
household name. But when you're thrown in that quickly and like day two, they're flying you out, like how did you actually feel? Like, did you feel prepared for the role? Were you freaking nervous? Like,
No, I didn't feel prepared for the role. It was a new role. It was actually funny because looking back, I've never really had more than 6 months of guidance from a PR professional. Like I started at DIMAC in 2019, and by December, my boss Cecilia left to start the U.S. arm of Listen Up, and so I
hmm
just started doing the PR because we had releases, and the president at the time came and sat me down. He was like, We're going to give you a shot because we have South by Southwest and Miami Music Week in a few months. We don't have time to onboard a new person, but like you're 21 and we know you're not qualified. So if you
right.
don't do it well, no harm, no foul, you can have your $25,000 a year job back. And so,
Sure.
okay. And so
Okay.
then I left to go to, that's not true. At Reflector, under Justin, I learned so much. And then after that, I took a year off of PR. I went back into my journalism. I was blogging for DJ Mag
hmm
while like backpacking in Europe, and then I was working on music marketing agency. So it's been about 2 years since I'd been in a full time PR position. And then at Ultra, I didn't have an advisor. Like I was working under the marketing
hmm
department. So no, I did not feel equipped.
Yeah.
And it was a unique transition between the company that had been
hmm
repping Ultra for all these years versus kind of young. girl
Mm-hmm.
coming in, replacing like a big company, one lady.
Right.
But I just kind of made it my own thing, and Ultra has been very it's an amazing team. Most people have worked there for somewhere between like 5 years plus. Like a lot of people are
Mm-hmm.
lifers, and so they all were very instrumental in getting me onboarded and understanding the systems and processes, and also like letting me have a autonomy to reshape the communications,
Mm-hmm.
actually just build communication systems and processes for
Sure.
internal and external.
Yeah. That's so cool. No, I mean, obviously, it's like such a huge role to be thrown into, but I do feel like everything that you had leading up to like fully prepared you to do that. And I did want to like kind of dive into just PR in general for other people who are listening who might like be curious about getting into this role or this industry. What are like the major differences between, and it doesn't just have to be ultra, but doing PR for a major music festival versus like when you're representing an artist? Like what are the main differences, and why does somebody need PR? Like what is something, like if they're an artist listening too, like why is that important?
Yeah. Um, for artists versus festivals, for festivals, I would say the main difference is the length of the campaign. For festivals, it's a lot much
Mm-hmm.
longer lead. At least the style that J Sloane Creative does. There's I would say like maybe eight four people,
Mm-hmm.
eight main electronic music PR companies, and also Jason Creative does jam, indie, funk, neo soul as well. But in terms of like
Mm-hmm.
electronic music, everybody has their own style. What we do is for festivals, we'll do like anywhere between 6 months to a year campaign, and because it's longer lead, it's more the it's very important to have like a staggered strategy so we can keep the momentum going. When there's a
Mm-hmm.
lineup announcement, set time reveal, a big piece of news. That's the focus. And then on those months that we don't have that, that's when we could really get creative about different types of promo and storytelling. Whereas for
Sure.
artists, a lot of PR companies will sign an artist for a year long retainer, which does make sense for a lot of people and a lot of artists. What
Mm-hmm.
we really like to do is sign more like 4 to 6 month campaigns around like a conceptual project. So either an album, an EP, a remix album, and a tour, a few different big pieces of new items, or,
Mm-hmm.
clothing collaborations, whatever it is. And then we like to go really hard in organizing press and promo and coverage around whatever that project is that that artist is putting out. We do
Sure.
have artists who will work with us, for longer periods of time, but artists are really, not making a lot of money. And if they're making money
Mm-hmm.
at shows, they also are reinvesting that money into their career. So I just, the
Mm-hmm.
profits are so thin that I feel like for many artists, it makes sense to pay a publicist all year round if they're
Mm-hmm.
doing, big things year round. But for us, I think it's like more advantageous for the artist to do a lot in a shorter amount of period of time, and then they could use
Right.
that budget elsewhere for the rest of the year. So that's the main difference I would say between festivals and artists in terms of length. And then what was
Gotcha.
the second question? What is PR basically? Or like what
Or
is the
no, for an art, maybe you maybe answered it a little bit. Like it sounds like it's something worth investing when you're like maybe at a certain level. But if somebody is coming up, like what's the importance of having a publicist versus like an agent or a manager?
Yeah, I mean, again, as I said at the beginning, I didn't really have ambitions to be a business owner. So
Yeah.
I'm not like, as opposed to like being a good publicist and like spinning and pitching and like convincing
Yeah.
someone that something's compelling. Like for me, I think honestly, the PR is the last thing that you should hire. I think that, once you have all the other pieces in place, like at least Jason Creative, I can't speak for other companies,
Hmm.
but for Jason Creative, when something's like percolating is when we really want to get in there and then make it blow up. If you're just starting, I don't really see as much value in PR as maybe influencer marketing or growing your socials or your digital or your ad spends, which aren't my forte, so I can't really speak to that. But I think if
Sure.
you have all those pieces together and you've got, 10,000 followers on Instagram, et cetera, there's a few different like barometers of like, okay, well, now we want to promote what you're doing because it'll move the needle. And also, when you're pitching media, you have to come with a quality product. And so somebody who's
Hmm.
just graduated from Icon, unless, they've blown up overnight,
Mhm.
icons of music production school. But unless you've blown up overnight, I think you got to get the pieces of your artist project in place, and then J Sloane will come in at that kind of seminal moment and take it to the next level is the idea. But
Got
in
it.
terms of what PR kind of does, for artists, I think it's multi-pronged. So reaching potential new fans through media placements, and then getting strengthening your connection with current fans through interviews and other storytelling. It's a really good way to give your fans an inside glimpse into your aspirations and your inspirations and what drives you. And so I think it's good to have that type of content that you are an artist being interviewed by a media outlet, Rave Culture Cast, whatever it is, and
Mhm.
getting to tell that story. Obviously artists have their socials, but they're not all great yappers, or sometimes they're
For
just
sure.
yapping. And so I think like having that media format is a really good way to get their stories out there to current fans as well as potential fans. And then also a lot of it now is so that artists do have something to post on their socials. We're generating new content, we're generating new buzz. You're
Mhm.
getting a big placement for an artist in Spin Magazine, or you're getting a big placement in Polestar, whatever, that banner publication is. We send that to the client, and we recommend that the client sends it to their agent. And so when their agent is
Sure.
negotiating what line of a festival billing they should be on, hopefully, oh well, look at what Spin Magazine just called Maddie O'Neill the bass maven of 2024, whatever it is, DJ Mag, bubbling artist, whatever we've secured for our client, based on their merit and our work.
Sure, sure.
Hopefully that will give the agent and the manager as well ammunition to get them better collaborations, better bookings, etc., and really raise their profile, and have that really great kind of trusted, respected cosign.
For sure. No, it's so cool to see what you do. And like I appreciate when I get your emails and I find out about like a lot through you. So it's always like helpful for me to see those
I love that.
insights. And I love seeing like your passion for what you do and just being such a music fan, a festival fan. Like do you did you always envision being behind the scenes? Because that's kind of like how I always felt about my role. I liked being the person like behind the scenes getting shit done and like you know people, but you don't have to be front facing. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
How have you fallen into that role?
Yeah, I mean, I love attention. I'm a Virgo, but Leo in the cusp, so I'm like a loud person. I'm in a
Love that.
room. I
Yeah.
typically decline, interviews. I've had like other people ask to interview me. I'm like, well, why don't you interview my client? Because, like you said, I do actually
Right.
prefer to use my platform to platform my clients as opposed
Mhm.
to me being the product. I'm also not as creative as I think I am. I don't have any musical talent. So I always
Sure.
wanted to be the one that was promoting artists and festivals that I believe in. And like, I get to heal, my dream is that I heal people through the power of music, other people's music, whether they're at a festival
Mhm.
or they're listening on Spotify, whatever it is. And so if I can help share that story, share that song, whatever we're promoting to the world, that's always been, I think, so even as a journalist, there's a lot of crossover. We're,
Sure.
we're both storytellers. And so that's always been my goal, is to platform important music festivals, organizers, people who are doing cool things for the scene.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a
It's a
blessing.
good feeling. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was gonna say it's cool because I mean it's like kind of has to happen at the same time. Like as you grow yourself and rise yourself, and you get to know more people, and you build those relationships, you in turn are able to take that platform with you and introduce them to more people and have more connections. So yeah, it's cool to see like all the action that happens like behind the scenes, and then the people you're able to work with. Which I want to like have you shine a light on all the exciting things you're working on this fall because this is probably coming out in around September. So, what are you most excited for? What do we have coming up?
So Maddie O'Neill has her she's rolling toward her album, which will come out in October. So she's got two singles coming out in September. One is with DJ Paul from 3 6 Mafia. So keep your eye out for
Nice.
that. And then we're in the thick of prepping for Hulaween in October, as well as Off the Grid Campout in October and Joshua Tree Music Festival in October. We work with Framework, which is a really incredible independent event promoter and producer based in LA. They own and operate Sound Nightclub. They have a lot of different, they produce a lot of different events around LA. They also work in partnership with the Win to produce Art of the Wild, which is an underground music festival in Las Vegas. So we just announced the lineup for that yesterday. And I think on September, I want to say September 16th, they're doing a great show. Framework's going to do a big show with Abracadabra in LA. And so we're doing a lot of their kind of fall programming PR. And then with Ultra, we have Ultra Japan. This is going to be the 9th one. So that is mid-September. Wow. And then the same weekend is also going to be the first ever Ultra Hong Kong. We've done events in Hong Kong before, but not full Ultra festivals, which are multi-stage. We've done like single stage. Okay. And so I'm working that one. So I'm very excited because I've never been to Hong Kong. And then at the end of, or no, not the last week of September, but second to last, we have Cascade Equinox in Redmond, Oregon, which is outside of Bend. That's the second year. The first year was honestly amazing. I've been to so many festivals, first year festivals, not my clients, but first year festivals that are rough. And so I was so proud of them. It was amazing cross genre festival. This year we've got a really cool lineup where they're bringing a roller skating rink. There's a lot of really cool immersive art, a really great family circus and kids program. And it's the same organizers as Gem and Jam in Tucson. So we do PR for both of those, and just really great, independent, good people doing it for the right reason. And I'm sure I have a bunch of other
busy.
All that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
not a busy fall at all. You just have just a million freaking things going on.
I always joke like, oh, things are about to calm down. And it's not really a joke, but here we are.
Yeah. I mean, as far as like, because you talked a little bit obviously about like, you know, you have Ultra in March and all of the lead up for that. So kind of like having to base clients and things around it. But as far as like artists go, what are the deciding factors on who you take on as a client as far as an artist? Like, what do you look for?
Yeah. So for artists, the main thing I would say is that the product has to be good. Great. Actually, either it's an artist or a festival. And we represent a few record labels as well. We're not like in cycle with them, but we'll do retainers with them, which is also kind of artist PR, just piecemeal for each release as opposed to a 3 to 4 month campaign. The product has to be great, but more than that, the story has to be there. It has to resonate with myself as well as my team. I've got 3 incredible people that work with me full time and 1 part timer. And, you know, we have to make sure that this is a story that we all genuinely want to tell. We're not here for the money grab. We don't make, you know, music PR, like music journalism. It's not really a high grossing career. We're here, you know, we're okay, but like we do it for the love. And so we're not going to take something on if we don't truly believe in it. We're not excited to put it in our Instagram bio or tell people about it. And then, you know, we proudly represent 13 independent festivals domestically, and then Ultra Worldwide. Plus, we just signed Ocaso Festival, which is in Costa Rica. And so with artists, you know, it's not as clearly defined independent artists, but we really like to, I would say our goal, all 4 of us, 5 of us now, and it's my, you know, my vision, but they all share in it, is that we like to platform underrepresented voices. And so, you know, we really like to have like in a diverse, inclusive roster. I feel like, you know, like everything else in the world, white men have dominated for too long. And so, you know, and I'm not opposed to doing PR for a white man. We do it a lot, but it's got to have something different, something unique, and you have to be an ally. And so, you know, you also have to be a good person. I don't deal with snootiness, egos. I don't care how rich you are. No, thank you. You can go find another person to handle that. We really have to vibe with the person, and we make sure that we have extensive conversations beforehand, that we are connecting, because I'm very informal, if you couldn't tell. And so, you know, you have to be able, we have to be in sync, and also something that respects boundaries. And if it's an emergency, of course, call me at 1 a.m. Call me when I'm hiking up Machu Picchu. I'm going to pick up the phone. But somebody that's not harassing us for things in appropriate times.
Good. No, those are strict no assholes policy. Is what we have at the job that I work at. Yeah. And boundaries is huge, because this obviously, like you said, you're traveling all the time. This could be a 24/7 job, and especially when it's your job and your business as well, and you're passionate about it, it bleeds into everything else that you do. But I guess kind of like any final thoughts before I let you go, I would love to, you already shared some really good tips in here, but I would love to just like get a little bit more. So any, for somebody who's like aspiring and wants to get into this industry, whether it's in PR or journalism, like any other tips or advice like you would have given yourself back when you were first starting?
Yeah, I would say if you have the financial means to do an internship, or volunteer, right? Try to just do as much as you can to get your foot in the door and contribute. And so most people that are successful as professionals, full-time professionals, started off as bloggers or PR interns. And so I think that's really the best advice, is to give as much time as you can to learn and to connect with people, and just be very kind and respectful. Don't be a pushover, because that also doesn't garner you respect. But stand in your power while not having any sort of ego. And I think those are really the people that are going to succeed. And also just network. I don't really like that word because it sounds forced. And it's, listen,
Sure.
this is easier to do in Miami, New York, LA, Chicago, Detroit, Austin. But if you're in a music scene, that means that other people who are music industry professionals, whether it's LA or Austin, it doesn't have to be like LA. Go out. There's music industry mixers. There's women in music chapters. That's a music industry professional group all over the country. Find your local organizations that are music industry networking, opportunities. Go to those mixers, meet those people, go to the shows, support the scene. And like, if you're living in a smaller market, then your local venue still needs PR and promo. Like, your local venue still needs someone to promote to, Salt Lake City Times. I mean, just made that up, but you know what I mean? Like, just go be a
Right.
part of your scene, whether it's big or small. And also, it's the internet age. Such a
Yeah.
boomer. We have the internet. So, you're really not confined to, oh, I'm in the middle of nowhere, I can't really be a part of it. It's not true. I think that so many people have found and created amazing careers from internet, fostering relationships. Doesn't have to be a stuffy email. Don't stalk someone on Instagram, but you can connect. I get like really kind messages from people all the time, and I do my best to liaise with them. And so I think that that's another good way. Just build up your network and keep in touch with people and be respectful. And also, I guess the biggest thing I would say is don't ask for something if you're not giving something. And so that's why starting as a journalist, and publicist, but starting
Mhm.
as doing journalism is really good, because you're giving someone something without asking. And so when you do send them your resume for a potential assistant job or whatever it is, or to ask you to connect with someone else, then they'll be more apt to listen to you, as opposed to people who just send blind. Like, I can tell when I get a blind pitch that
Mhm.
somebody sent to 100 people. Make concerted efforts to connect with someone on their level, and make it a symbiotic exchange.
Mhm. Beautiful. No, that was great. I mean, I can relate to a lot of those things that you mentioned. But I think just going out in your local market and just putting yourself out there, not being afraid. Like out of all of this, you have to be able to like go out of your comfort zone, whether it's going to an event by yourself or introducing yourself to someone. And I'm and a testament to like just putting yourself on social media as well, because you have no idea where it could lead. You just got to like make those first few posts. So yeah, don't be, I liked how you said don't be confined to where you're from. There's just so many different ways to like break out of that, which is so true. So I'm pumped for what you're doing. It's like crazy to see everything that's happening. And I guess my last question for Ultra next year, is there anything
Yes.
you can tease or that you're excited for 2025?
Ultra 2025 will be Ultra's 25th anniversary. So
Oh
it's going to be,
shit.
the biggest blowout. Um,
Yep.
Not only could I not tease something, but there's nothing to tease right now from my end.
Yeah, yeah,
But it's the 25th anniversary. It's going to be a really special celebration of, obviously
yeah.
I'm their
Mhm.
publicist, but I consider Ultra one of the last independent music festivals of that size. Over
Mhm.
50,000 people. Six stages. Most festivals have been bought out by
Mhm.
you know who, and so I think it's really commendable that Ultra's doing this. continuously doing this independently, doing their own thing. And I think that's really going to shine through during the 25th anniversary celebration. It's going to be a lot of special, things happening throughout that whole week. And so definitely try to book your flights and travel to Miami sooner than later. So yeah, we have a lot to celebrate.
That's awesome. I love that. I love the little 25 and 25. That's such a sick,
I
big
know,
numbers
so good.
person. So that's sick. I'm pumped for you. Okay. Where can people connect with you? Can you plug all your socials?
Yes. My Instagram, both of my names have funky spelling. So it's Jaime Sloane, Jaime Sloane. That's Instagram. I think my Twitter is Sloane Says with a Z. That was actually the name of my editor's column in my high school newspaper.
Nice.
We're just everything. And then Facebook, I don't really have a fan page. J Sloane Creative does not have our company doesn't have socials yet. Once we started this, everything kind of took off. We also don't have our website up and running, but yeah, you can just connect with me, and I've got my staff as well. And yeah, thank you for having us. Me.
Of course. Yeah, of course. No, I'm happy to support any way we can. And guys, yeah, go check out Ultra next year. Check out all the festivals she's doing and the artists she's representing. Like we mentioned, the stuff coming up in the fall. I'm gonna link that all below. You can connect with us at Rave Culture Cast on all the platforms. We have a Facebook group and Discord community as well. If you guys enjoy this episode, please consider sharing it with a friend. And we appreciate. We'll be back next week with a new episode. Thanks, guys. Bye, guys.